Hi, this is EDL 853 Introduction, Module 1. I am Dana Unruh, and I am here because I love children and education. All right, the first slide we're really going to delve into here is my personal and professional demographics. I am a 41-year-old mother of 5. I am a wife, a marathon runner, a triathlete, and I live in Eastern Colorado. On a more personal note, my husband and I have been together since we were 15, and I literally have married my best friend. Our 5 daughters are, their ages range from, our oldest just turned 18 this last week to our youngest, who is 6. So we're pretty busy, and it's been a pretty emotional year with all the changes and her getting accepted into college, and it's just been a really emotional year for all of us for that. Professionally speaking, I have my associates in early childhood education. I have my bachelor's in elementary education. I have taught in first, kindergarten, and I am now teaching in 4th grade. I also formerly have worked in the Kit Carson School District and am now working in the Burlington School District in Eastern Colorado. Number 1, reflection. Okay, for the school reflection, I have it in 2 different columns here, and I'll explain to you why. The first side, the way we look at our students to decide whether or not to assess them to see if they qualify for SPED. And there's several different assessments we use in the district. Obviously, being a PK through 12 district, which most districts are, you're going to have a wide range. So I listed a little bit of each. We've used Ames Web, Aspire, Barton, NWEA, Dibbles, classroom assessments, things like that. For our teachers, when we have had those findings, and then we have a child who has been identified with significant need, the classroom teacher, our special education teacher that is assigned to the case, our building admin, and our counselor all meet on the possible accommodations and things we can do to help that student and meet their needs where they are. Then when we have had that meeting, we go on and develop either our IEP, our 504, our behavioral, read plans, etc., that we may need to meet that student's needs. On the other side, you'll see that I put there's 4 different things we have there. These are the different areas that we how we service in our school for special education. We have the traditional pullout, which is where the students leave the classroom and go into a special education room and get services pulled out, obviously why they call it pullout, pulled out of the classroom. And we have inclusion, which is where we have a special education teacher come into our classroom and work with us and the student during our lessons, so they get the more one-on-one inclusion, but still get that extra support they need. We also have interventionists who come in and work with those kiddos who may not necessarily meet the needs of an IEP or 504, but still have that strategic need. So we're trying to meet their needs before the kids get to the point of being needing to be on a 504 or an IEP, so before that need is so severe or their gap in learning is so severe that they have to be pushed back to a more severe intervention tier. And then we also have a center-based program, which is absolutely amazing in my opinion. The ladies in there are total godsends and angels. They work with severely disabled children. We have traumatic brain injuries. We have some Down syndrome children. We have autistic children. It's just, some of these cases are super, super sad. And it's just amazing what these professionals do in this classroom and how they work with these kiddos. And actually the center-based classroom is directly across the hall from mine. So I have a pretty integral knowledge on what goes in there. They're really, really good people. My personal reflection, you'll see that I only listed 4 things here, but let me go into that a little bit. So on the inclusion end of my classroom, I am a 4th grade teacher currently, and my class size is 22, which isn't huge, but when you look at the special needs we have in my classroom, it ends up becoming a little overwhelming. So we have daily, I have inclusionists and interventionists, in my classroom daily. They come in for science and social studies, reading, math, and writing every day. So I have 2 inclusionists or one inclusionist, one interventionist, depending on how that works with the kiddos, every day during those 4 subjects. They each have their own table area at the back of my room where they work with the children that have those specific needs, and they work in a more one-on-one environment to give them their lessons and help support them where they're at in my classroom. The close one-to-one work is something I do with the kiddos who may be on an IEP or a 504 or a behavioral plan, but don't necessarily fit into the inclusion or intervention area at this point. So these may be the kiddos who get actually pulled out during different times of the day. These are the kiddos that come up and sit with me. I don't have a desk. I'm one of those teachers who doesn't have a desk. I have small group tables all over my room, and they come up to my small group table at the front of the room, and we work one-to-one up there, or one to two up there. And also something I wanted to note was that I'm huge on differentiation. We do tons of small group work in my classroom. Having been a former kindergarten and first grade teacher, I really feel that the impact small group has on a classroom is amazing. And I think that any classroom can benefit from small group instruction. I feel like it really allows you to meet a small group of children at their need, so you can have that differentiation in the classroom you may not have been able to do during your whole group instruction. I also want to point out that I take the extra time during my instruction to teach multiple ways to look at things, especially in subjects like math. One of the biggest things I always push to my kids is that nobody's perfect. Everybody makes a mistake, and the only way we can grow is to make a mistake. And there is no one way to do a math problem. So we take extra time, and we learn 2, if not 3 different ways to do each and every math problem. So we do traditional, we may do manipulative, and then we may actually do a language end of it on how to think about the language aspect of the word problem, or whatever it is we may be working on, to get that kiddo who may learn from that perception a little differently. So my classroom actually is pretty, I feel I do a decent job, but honestly, we can always do better. We absolutely can always do better. Nobody is perfect. Nobody is top notch. There's always room for improvement, and I am definitely not one to say that she doesn't need to improve, because there is always room for improvement. My plan of action: if I was to work in the current district I am right now as a building administrator, which would be really nice, I would like to increase my staff knowledge and accessibility of materials to better serve our students at their point of need. Now, I put this part of the sentence is really important to me, at their point of need. I think that a lot of times we as employees and we as districts meet the kids where we can. I really feel like this is, while we're trying to do our best, is still a disservice to that child. We need to meet them at their point of need. They shouldn't have to wait for us. They shouldn't have to accept anything less than what they need. And I think that is the ongoing battle that we face a lot with special education, is that we need to make sure we can meet those kids at their point of need, not at our level of availability. So if I look into my plan of action a little deeper, these would be some of the steps I would take. I would hire more qualified staff. I would provide more trainings for that staff. I would purchase more materials to meet the students' needs, expand the facility to better use current space for our SPED programs, and I'd create a more inclusive environment for our SPED students. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that slide because I'm going to explain it more on this one. So if funding was not an option, and this is why I waited to expand on it. If funding was not an option, obviously, oh my goodness, what we could do in the special education world. Materials are super expensive, as everybody knows, and even one child has multiple ways and multiple things that can reach that student on different levels each and every day. That becomes absolutely exorbitant. I mean, the expenses is unreal. So if we had more funding, the materials we could get for these kiddos, not only in their center-based program or in their SPED program, I mean, to include them and to have that intervention stuff in the classroom would be amazing, because my goal as a future administrator with special education is to make sure that every child is inclusive as much as possible in that regular classroom setting. So on the training end of it, I said it a minute ago. I really feel like it's our job as administrators to meet those kids at their point of need. So to do that, we need to make sure that our staff gets the trainings they need as much as we can ahead of time, and we meet those kiddos where they need it before they need it. So we're basically taking that tool out of our arsenal and already have it, instead of backtracking saying, oh wait, we have this to deal with now, so we got to go back and retrain. I would prefer that our staff be trained ahead of time so we can kind of head things off. Facility is always an issue. I would like to be able to use our space a little better. We have a couple rooms that I don't feel that is the best use of space, and we could probably use to expand our center-based program, or actually give our ELL program a dedicated space instead of crammed into a corner of a book room. Again, with the staff point, I would love to be able to get more qualified staff. We have one special education teacher right now, and she's so overworked. Her caseload is just unreal. I'd like to get more inclusionists and interventionists in each classroom. That way we can support those kiddos better in the classroom. And I'd also like to work it out so we can help more of those strategic kids and get a better one-to-one setting in smaller group activities while they are in the classroom. This is something you can basically just read. This is my statement on our district. I really feel like we do a pretty decent job, but no district is perfect. No person is perfect. We always need to be looking at how we can better our district and ourselves to serve our students at their point of need. Again, their point of need, not our point, their point. I know we weren't asked to embed standards, so I just listed them at the back here. But I really feel like these standards go hand to hand with what we're talking about today. And my summary of it is that educational leaders need to create a more inclusive environment, caring and supportive to the academic success and well-being of each student. You know, I think too many times we were like, well, we'll accommodate to the point of our IEP. I absolutely don't believe that. I have a kiddo in my classroom this year who, you know, I've set those expectations for him, and he has risen and he has risen and he has risen. They will either rise to your expectations or live them down. And it doesn't matter if it is a regular classroom child, if you want to call them that, or a special education classroom child. They will live up to your expectations or live them down. And I really feel that holding those kiddos to that really high expectation that you hold yourself to is the only way to create a fully inclusive and successful academic environment for all involved. Thank you.